activity among Filipinos, anong makakapagbigay ng trabaho, makakapagtaas ng income ng ating mga kababayan, yan ang mga i-release natin. Kasama na dyan, syempre, sa edukasyon, kalusugan, agrikultura na napakahalaga.
Thank you po.
Okay, Alexis Romero, Philippine Star.
Related po dun sa naunang tanong. Kasi nung SONA po nabanggit ni Presidente na he would rather have a reenacted budget rather than one that is not in line with his policy priorities. At yun yung naging issue po ng 2025 budget. Yung budget po ngayon, given na may vetoed items, can we say that this reflects or this is more consistent with the policy priorities of the admin compared to the previous one?
Yes, that is correct.
So hindi siya mangled na yung tipong unlike yung before na maraming changes sa budget proposals sa NEP.
Like I said, kung meron man amendment, at meron ngang amendment, natural lang, dahil trabaho ng Kongreso yun, ang trabaho ng executive is to implement or to execute the budget. So titignan din natin lahat ng increases na proposed amendment at susuriin natin na mabuti kung dapat ba to ay may release o di kaya wag i-release.
Isa na lang po.
In addition, just to what was vetoed is the unprogrammed appropriations. It's not from the program appropriations. So hindi siya maatala yung ating mga programa na inaprubahan ng presidente.
For the record na lang po, yung DPWH budget dun sa final budget law versus po sa NEP, ilan po yung na-trim dun sa allocation po ng public works?
Kung hindi ako nagkakamali, ang NEP was 850 billion roughly. Di ba? More or less, no?
The budget NEPS is 881 billion and our GAA enrolled, or the GAA is at 530 billion, so a difference of 351 billion.
Salamat po.
Thank you. Kat Domingo, ABS-CBN.
Hi, sir. Sir, I understand that you will be publishing the GAA soon, but one contentious issue in every budget is the President's confidential funds. How much is the President's confidential funds under the 2026 GAA? And how much is the difference, whether higher or lower, compared to the previous confidential funds?
So let me just get the exact data. Sorry. Okay. For confidential intelligence fund, okay, there's a total for 2026. There's a total of 11.8 billion based on the GAA, okay, and 2026. So it increased. Or a decrease from the 12.120 billion that is coming from the 2025. So bumaba actually by around 302.2 million pesos yung contingent, rather confidential intelligence fund.
Sir,
for the total.
Sir, despite the 302.2 decrease, 11.8 billion is still a huge amount that will not be liquidated as thoroughly as regular line item budgets. How does the palace reconcile that kind of seeming irony when the president promised a more transparent, a budget that will be more judiciously spent?
Okay. Well, we just have to follow what is in the joint circular with the DBM and COA. So we have to follow those rules and regulations. That is the basically that we follow in terms of the accountability or accounting of the confidential fund and intelligence fund. And also, per our general provision, we need to report that to House of Representatives and Senate at the same time from the Office of the President. So it will be monitored accordingly. Okay.
Yung 11 billion na nabanggit, hindi lahat yan Office of the President.
Yeah.
It's a total, sir.
Thank you.
Total.
Thank you, Sec.
Okay. Sir, for the OP alone,
okay,
how
okay.
much?
Okay, for the OP alone, the same level as in 2025, that is around 4.5 billion pesos.
Sir, same question. Bakit po hindi significantly binabaan when the public is clamoring, has been questioning the spending of the confidential funds, has been clamoring for a more transparent budget? Bakit po hindi significantly tinapyasan? Go, sir.
I think it is transparent in the sense that the OP reports directly to the Senate President and to the Speaker of the House. So the OP submits reports to the House of Representatives and to the Senate President.
Sir, last na talaga
And to
from my,
COA.
yes, sir. Sir, last from my end, for the executive secretary, as a former lawmaker, what do you make out of the so-called safeguard on the prohibition on politicians in the distribution? Because a lot of people feel that it is somehow a form of tokenism, because even if they are not present in the distribution, they can still give out guarantee letters. People still can line up in their offices because that is not qualified as a distribution per se.
I'll put it this way. It's the first time that we have such a provision in the General Appropriations Act. So subukan natin muna.
Chloe Fana.
Kay Sec RC po, follow up lang po dun sa growth kanina. What led to the downward revision po for 2026 and 2027, and how will it impact fiscal deficit ceiling for those years?
The the reason for the scaling down of the growth, well, it's arose from the realities that we saw and we have been seeing both globally and domestically. As you have seen in the various reports of IMF, World Bank, ADB, you know, while the global climate, economic climate has improved a bit in the second half of the year, we haven't really gone back to the kind of growth expected before April of last year. No? So in other words, there's still that uncertainty faced globally, and that is impacting on us as well. We are an open economy to begin with. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, the developments last year are likely to still to be felt this year, although in a diminishing effect. So we expect growth perhaps in the first quarter to be, or at least in the first half to be still quite not as rosy as we would want it to be. But I think that with the governance, the improvements in the systems that we are putting in place, as reflected in the budget and in the various offices, we expect to see faster growth toward the second half and the succeeding years. Also, I think that as I mentioned earlier, what makes I think the this year and next and hopefully even further down is that we are realizing what we want to happen, and that is a growth that is not just fast but it's more inclusive. I think the focus on health, education, social protection, job creation, that will tremendously improve inclusivity. And if you can improve inclusivity, we can have faster poverty reduction even without substantially raising growth. Because our history is that we have fast growth in some years, but that was not associated with fast poverty reduction because they were it's exclusive growth. It was only benefiting a small section of our population. I think the budget that we have passed, and we hope that this kind of budget will continue in future budgets, reflects that desire to have a inclusivity as part of our lens when we look at economic development.
Thank you po.
Thank you. Jerome Morales, Bloomberg News.
Good morning to our secretaries. Related to growth, we understand the numbers are coming in, but what was the likely 2025 GDP growth versus our target before? And also to our econ managers, what impact do you see what happened in Venezuela? How are we safeguarding our economy from potential impact of this recent global uncertainty? Thank you.
Growth. The emerging number growth scenario for 2025 is something like 4.8 to 5%. But if you achieve 5% for the entire year, because the first 3 quarters average is already 5, no? That still puts the economy into one of the fastest growing economies in Asia, in ASEAN. That will put us next to Vietnam, with Indonesia close by. With respect to the impact of the Venezuela, there is hardly nothing. I don't think that that there's any going to be perceptible effects on us. Unless that will have some, duplications elsewhere, if it's emboldened some other governments to do similar things, then of course that will have the indirect effects on us. But as it is, our link directly or indirectly with the Venezuelan economy is not strong.
Thank you. Alexis Romero.
I-follow up ko lang kay Secretary Toledo regarding the more than 300 billion reduction po from NEP. May we just know the reason behind the reduction sa public works po? And then saan po na-allocate yung mga funds na tinanggal doon sa DPWH?
Okay. So the very source of that, when they have their meeting with the committee on appropriations, I think that was also offered as the reduction from the DPWH. Okay, and then adjustment coming from what they call the prices ng kanilang mga materials. So those are the sources, or doon siya nanggagaling yung reduction as far as the DPWH budget is concerned.
And it was channeled to what funds?
Well,
Allocation.
if you'll notice, there are some increases in the different departments and agencies. So we cannot exactly say ito ay napunta dito sa ahensyang ito. But you can see in terms of the increases of the different departments and agencies. Basically, doon sa ating mga priority na ahensya like education, agriculture, health, and even from the social services sector.
Salamat po.
Last question will be from Ivan Mayrina.
So just to add to that, so the biggest one is the flood control, na 250. Na yun yung minove from DPWH to DepEd, to DOH, to DA, to DSWD, plus the material savings.
Nabanggit po ni Secretary Recto, uutang pa ho tayo ng 1.6 trillion, if I got that correctly,
More or
sir.
less in 2026, yes.
What does that mean in terms of our debt to GDP situation and our targets?
Yeah, it is within the fiscal framework plan. The deficit for 2026 will roughly be 5.3%. Next year, that will go down to 4.8%. And in the following year, that will go down to 4.3%. So basta steady yung pagbaba ng deficit natin, your debt to GDP will also go down. So for this year, well, more or less, nung umupo si Presidente Marcos in 2022, the debt to GDP was about 62%. Today, we're at 61%.
Thank you very much. And that concludes our press briefing. Thank you very much, ESR Recto, Secretary Rolando Toledo, Secretary Frederick Go, and Secretary Arsenio Balisacan. Sa mga susunod na araw ay tatalakayin din natin at tututukan natin ang mga nilalaman ng GAA kasama ang pamunuan ng iba't ibang ahensya. At dito na po nagtatapos ang ating press briefing. Magandang araw para sa bagong Pilipinas.
Bango,
Opo,
makikinis,
yun nga po
maeengganyo ka
siguro.
talaga. Mm.
Kaya ayun, doon ko nga narinig sa muna. Baka parang kung siya, sinusubuan pala ako ng demonyo
Mm.
para mapalayo sa Diyos, parang gano'n.
Mhm.
Kaya lang, ang problema, hindi ko lang po alam kung maniniwala pa ba yung isip ko sa akin.
Mm. Alam mo, Kuya Lando, makikita naman yan sa mga isinasalita natin at doon sa mga ikinikilos natin. 'Di ba? Alam mo, hindi